Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. For almost a century, Farm Bureau has been a friend of the farm for all Virginians. Visit our website at vafb.com.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce the wonderful local products we enjoy. Brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. Here's what's coming up on this week's show. A leader in Virginia agriculture is spreading the good word to the next generation. We share a recipe to put some heat into your Valentine's Day dessert. And speaking of spicy, Virginia poultry growers help keep Americans supplied with a favorite football food.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia.
Welcome back to Real Virginia, everyone. We're coming to you this week from the Airfield 4-H Center in Wakefield, Virginia. Agriculture Literacy Week is just about a month away, and one Virginia 4-H leader is being celebrated for helping students learn the importance of agriculture in their lives.
So it breaks it down by the
Henrico County Extension Agent Carter Humphreys has figured out how to support ag literacy without actually being an ag teacher herself, but she still finds her way into the classroom. In fact, the National Agriculture in the Classroom organization has recognized her work with the Partnership in Agriculture Literacy Award.
I have been working with the school system for about 5 years now, doing all sorts of programs, and it kind of started with a few select teachers of a program that I wanted to test out and see how it worked, and was using Ag in the Classroom funds and lesson plans to do that, and it really just escalated and took off.
The National Award is specifically meant to recognize a non-teacher, someone who focuses on education but outside of a traditional classroom. For example, someone involved in 4-H, volunteers, or a museum educator. Humphreys approached Virginia's Agriculture in the Classroom program for the initial funding for her ideas. She wanted to create an Ag Ventures program as well as an embryology program where kids can learn about hatching ducks, chicken, and geese.
During embryology time, when the chicks make it back to our office and we are sitting in our office and we start hearing little chirps, we know that the chicks have hatched in different schools. The teachers are bringing them in, and that the kids have already had that great experience of having watched them hatch.
The National Ag in the Classroom Partnership in Ag Literacy Award is only given to one person each year.
She infuses educational concepts like STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, along with agricultural concepts like learning about animals and how you care for them and how you grow things. And what does agriculture look like around our state, around our country, and around our world?
The Ag Venture program started in 2020 with several hundred students, and by 2024, Humphreys' program affected over 25,000 children in a mostly suburban county, giving them an opportunity to connect with agriculture in ways they may not have had before.
Having the opportunity to bring aspects of the agriculture around them, something as simple as understanding, where the apples that they eat come from, or even, once again, thinking about the embryology program. One thing that Carter does really well, and I think that's been a successful part of this particular project that she's been awarded for, is helping those young people make those connections.
Henrico is very much a suburban, becoming very urban county. Little traditional rural pieces here and there, but most of our kids, even in the rural areas, don't have an understanding what agriculture is. I always laugh because a lot of times when I say it, they think architecture, so it's really funny to kind of explain to them, no, not quite. And one of the kind of attention getters that we always get with them is, well, what are things that you use on a daily basis in your life? And they'll tell you, well, we wear clothes and we go to school and I use a pencil. And so that really gets them thinking about what are everyday agriculture products that they use, and kind of helps them start to see that tie-in. That milk comes from cows on a farm, and eggs come from chickens on a farm, and not from the grocery store. So, because we've gotten that quite a bit. So, really just finding those real world connections for them about why agriculture is important has been really fun to kind of see and open their eyes to.
This is the second time a Virginian has won this national award over the last 10 years, continuing a tradition of informing and inspiring the next generation of ag producers and consumers. In Henrico County, I'm Burke Moeller reporting.
America's agrarian past began to fade from the classroom more than a century ago, as the Industrial Revolution and the Great Depression forced thousands of families to leave the farm for work. Beginning in the 1930s, rural leaders began searching for ways to share the importance of agriculture to students in the classrooms. In the 1970s, that effort culminated in the creation of a National Agriculture in the Classroom program in the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Virginia's Ag in the Classroom program became a separate effort in 1987 and reaches more than 500,000 students each year.
Hi, I'm Mark Viette. Coming up on In the Garden, we're going to talk about Get It Off the House. Stay with us.
Farming is a rewarding way of life, but it can also be full of challenges. If you or someone you know is struggling, call or text the AgriStress helpline at 833-897-2473. It offers 24/7 access to professionals who can support someone in need and help find mental health services in your community. Please make the call, because healthy farms depend on healthy farm families. That's 833-897-2474.
Winter is a good time to do some garden cleanup. Mark Viette says you should be looking at pruning shrubs to protect your buildings in the garden.
During the spring, even as early as latter part of March, before your plants really begin to grow, it's a great time to prune boxwoods. They have their roots in the ground. In fact, this has probably been here 25 years. It has a fantastic, substantial root system. Now, I mentioned get it off the house. You really want to get your growth off the house. This building here is probably close to 200 years old. And what you want to do is pull off this foliage, like I'm doing here, by cutting it. And it will grow back quickly. But as you can see, there is some damage occurring from the excessive water that kind of lays on the shingles. So what I'm going to initially do, I have an idea of where I want to prune it, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to not look the best for probably 1.5 years, but you'll be surprised how quick it grows. So you're going to come in and you're going to prune some areas so you have a starting point. Now, it's a great workout. These branches are not big enough to use a small chainsaw. These branches are easily pruned, and make sure your tools are sharp and you wear protective gear. But you're going to come in and you're going to find a spot and you're going to start pruning. And I'm pruning sort of in the middle so you can see it from both sides. Now, I'm not going to prune to the baseboard. There is a nice baseboard, but I don't think on this I need to do it. Let me just get some of this out. All right, just to show you, This is about 1.5 inches, and this is 1 inch of where we cut it many years ago. And look how great this boxwood looks. This here is opening up the entire region to get more light at the base. And I'd figure this to be a half-day job. All the plants that we planted in front of this boxwood have disappeared. They were overtaken by the boxwood. So we're just going to come in here, and sometimes I tie a string or a thin rope and I stake it somewhere in front so I have a cutting guide to go by. I pruned these boxwoods 2 years ago, and they were this tall. I pruned them more than halfway. And look how great they look now. I did have to follow up on pruning maybe a branch. You know, some of the branches like this don't look as good. So I did have to come in and do a little follow-up pruning. And if you really want to see how wide they were as wide as this boxwood here. In fact, the lower branches got covered with soil and or mulch and rooted in. So what I did last August, toward the fall, end of August, I severed it got most of its energy and sun from the big boxwood, but I cut the roots and trimmed the roots. So there are roots all the way around this boxwood. And all I have to do now is gently dig it, don't shake off the soil, and take it and transplant it, and I can have 10 more boxwoods in other gardens here at the house. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
Email your garden questions to viette@viette.com.
Hi, I'm Chef Tammy Brawley from the Green Kitchen. Coming up on Heart of the Home, chipotle brownies. We hope you'll stay with us.
Every year, 500 people in the United States die in an all-terrain vehicle-related accident, and another 1,000 people are seriously injured. Sadly, many of those victims are children.
Simple rules for ATV safety are: one, wear a helmet. Have to wear a helmet. The other one is being able to control your speed. All of these relate together. Knowing your terrain and especially avoiding steep slopes. Steep slopes are the leading cause of overturns.
This message brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau Safety Advisory Committee.
Want to spice up your Valentine's Day dessert? Chef Tammy Brawley has a special chocolate brownie recipe that's sure to make your sweetheart smile. From the Heart of the Home.
Hi, I'm Chef Tammy Brawley from the Green Kitchen. Welcome to Heart of the Home. Today I'm going to show you guys a delicious recipe. My brownie recipe is pretty famous amongst my friends, and I have thrown in some variations for today, and I'm excited to show them to you. We're going to start with 11 ounces of dark chocolate and 8 ounces of butter in a double boiler, if you will, of simmering water. And the butter has pretty much already melted at this point. I did want to come back and add a teaspoon of instant espresso, standard espresso they sell in the grocery store. And we're going to whisk that up. And it's almost melted now, but we do want to get it thoroughly melted before we add any other ingredients. So I'm just going to continue stirring. It will tend to get a little thick on the bottom, but as you incorporate it, it should come together quite nicely. You want to bring your temperature of the water up pretty quickly, but then you do want to reduce it. You don't want it boiling for a long time. The chocolate will tend to seize if that happens. All right, this is coming together quite nicely. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off the heat, and I'm actually going to add the sugars. And what I really like to do is make a little nest with a cloth or a towel. You can see how beautiful this has now come together. So we're going to move it over here to our towel. And now I am going to add 1.5 cups of white sugar and 1/2 cup of brown sugar. You want to get this thoroughly mixed up. Sometimes I do take the time to let it rest and get to room temperature before I add the eggs, because you don't want to cook the eggs per se until they bake in the oven, that is. We're going to get it nice and mixed. But if you do find yourself short on time and you want to add the eggs right away, you certainly can. You just want to get them thoroughly incorporated. All right, so I have the eggs already broken up in a bowl. What I like to do is do 1 egg at a time, if possible. If more than one falls in the bowl, don't worry about it. Get it nice and incorporated. The main point is to incorporate each egg separately. So we've got 1. Now we'll do 2. And then our final egg there. Now I want to incorporate 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Get that nice and incorporated as well. All right, this is beautiful. It's coming together quite nicely. Now we're going to mix together our dry ingredients, but the one thing you want to learn, that you want to make sure you do, I should say, is you want to use a spatula at this point to incorporate your dry ingredients. You don't want to use a whisk. You want to get them nice and folded in together. So what I have is 1 1/4 cups flour. And then we're going to add to that our other dry ingredients, our spices per se. Really want to stress how much I love using chocolate salt that I received from a local vendor, but it is salt that has been incorporated with chocolate, and we want a teaspoon of that, and this is actually a bit of a pinch measure, so we'll just eyeball a teaspoon, excuse me. There we go. So that is about a teaspoon of chocolate salt. And then we have chipotle powder, cayenne, coriander, ground cloves, and dark cocoa. So we're going to put that in our dry ingredients. And we're going to whisk that up. Again, you want this to be nice and incorporated before you add it to your batter. And then the last little thing I'm going to show you before we add that together is a nice little hack. We've got some toasted hazelnuts here. As you can see, they're whole. Rather than break out the food processor for just 1/4 cup, I put them in a Ziploc bag, get a rolling pin, bang them up. They don't have to be totally fine or ground. Just want them broken up somewhat. All right, we'll go ahead and add those to the dry ingredients as well. And now we're going to put it together with our chocolate and the other ingredients and the sugars. And this is where you want to switch to a spatula. Very, very important. You want to fold your ingredients together. Fold means you just turn it over on itself. So we start on the outside, circle in, over and over. This is a delicious recipe. You know, Valentine's is coming up, and you might love to share chocolate with your loved one. So it's a great recipe, and it's also one of my favorites because I love sweet and spicy together. I've got my oven on 350 preheated on bake. I have a baking pan that I've lined with parchment paper. If you don't use parchment paper or don't have any, you can certainly butter the pan to help keep these from sticking. But another benefit to using the parchment is once they've cooled, to be able to cut them, you can lift the parchment right out. All right, this is beautifully incorporated. If you do see a little bit of flour left over, don't stress about that. All right, we're going to get it into our pan here. And we're going to smooth it out, and then we're going to pop it in the 350-degree oven for 30 minutes. What I do like to do with all of my baking is halfway through the baking time, I will rotate the pan. Not sure what your oven is like. It may require that as well. but I feel like it just works for nice even baking. So we're going to spread it out a little bit. All right, that is done. Now the last little trick I'll show you before we pop it in the oven is you want to actually make sure you have no air holes. So you want to bang this on the counter. And this keeps from any air from being incorporated within the brownie when it bakes. We're going to go into a 350-degree oven for 30 minutes. Our brownies have cooled about a half an hour or so. Sometimes it can be longer. Don't worry about that. We're going to move them still on the parchment paper over to our cutting board. Get our rack out of the way. Technically, a 9 by 13 pan gives you about 24 brownies if you measure correctly. So we're going to cut them. Now, they still might be a little soft in the middle as opposed to letting them cool longer. There's nothing wrong with that either. You just don't want them rock hot and burning the roof of your mouth. All right, and there we have it. I'm Chef Tammy Brawley from the Green Kitchen. These were chipotle brownies. Join us next time on Heart of the Home.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafb.com/recipes, as well as on Chef Tammy Brawley's website at greenkitchenrichmond.com.
Jalapenos are among the specialty pepper varieties raised on 86 acres of Virginia farmland on 300 farms in 2022. And of course, many more are raised in backyard gardens. Peppers need to be planted when the soil is warm enough for seeds to germinate, between 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Because of that, most peppers do not ripen until early fall in Virginia. Adding to the challenge, pepper plants stop growing when it gets too hot. Garden experts recommend backyard growers use transplants instead of seeds to get a successful head start in their annual production.
No football party is complete without chicken wings. How did this fan favorite become synonymous with the NFL's big game? Elijah Griles has the answer.
Chicken wings. They're juicy, they're tasty, and they are America's favorite food to eat while watching football. Virginia farmers raise 548 million wings each year, and their popularity has exploded since the 1980s.
Our number one selling item are chicken wings, or as they're called down here, buffalo wings. We offer mild, medium, hot, and for those brave enough, heat rush.
Jimmy Cerrito owns Jimmy's Old Town Tavern in Herndon, Virginia. His passion for chicken wings was hatched growing up outside of Buffalo, New York.
I remember being 8 or 9 years old when there was chicken wings on my plate. They were usually mild, or maybe the sauce was on the side so we could dip them. They were just maybe starting to become popular back then. This would be the mid to late 70s.
In 1997, Cerrito and his wife started their restaurant with a commitment to make the best buffalo wings in Northern Virginia. Unlike their beloved Buffalo Bills, the Cerritos have won multiple championships.
We have been asked to enter countless buffalo wing challenges with all of the Northern Virginia restaurants around us. Every time we've entered, we've won. And if you don't believe me, you can judge for yourself.
Although there are several stories of how the chicken wing became a football food favorite, they all connect back to Buffalo, New York. Cerrito shares the tale told by his father.
The restaurant, the Anchor Bar in Buffalo, owned by Frank and Teresa. Teresa was the chef, and she was back there making chicken soup, and she was cutting the wings off and just putting them on the side. There was a baseball team that came in and said, "Hey, we're hungry, give us something, surprise us." So Teresa took those wings that she was probably going to throw away as scraps, and she deep fried them, and then she came up with a hot sauce. She just threw it together, and she mixed them up, threw them on a plate. They looked a little boring, so she added some celery sticks and blue cheese on the side so they could have the celery and blue cheese. And she threw those out there on the table, and the team loved them.
Popular franchise restaurants helped the concept take flight nationwide over the following decades. Chicken farmers in Virginia have benefited from the popularity of these flightless birds' wings.
Back before it became popular in bars and restaurants and cooking at home, it was a lower value part of the bird, but now it's really one of the highest value parts of the bird. The industry is pleased with the popularity, and it's more demand for our product.
There were over 274 million broiler chickens raised in Virginia in 2023. With 2 wings per chicken, the value of Virginia wings alone is more than $570 million. The true touchdown for these deep-fried delights comes on a Sunday in early February.
Chicken wings at the Super Bowl are like turkey at Thanksgiving. Last year it was estimated that Americans enjoyed about 1.5 billion chicken wings on Super Bowl Sunday.
Virginia's broiler chicken production is focused in the Shenandoah Valley. Rockingham County farmer Bob Threewitz raises both beef cattle and broiler chickens. His family built their chicken houses in 2012.
We did it so we could bring our son into the business and have income that would keep him on the farm.
Threewitz raises 128,000 broiler chickens every 6 to 7 weeks. He says that comfort is important to raising a bird with delicious wings.
And I wish I could tell you that we have exercises that we put them through to develop their wings, but we haven't gotten there yet. So, you know, the production of a healthy bird will give us the cuts we need.
Threewitz finds satisfaction in farming and the finished product.
I enjoy them. In fact, we were just out maybe New Year's Eve and had some chicken wings. And I'm not a connoisseur, but I guess we got a Caribbean flavored wings and we got a traditional buffalo wings.
As a Buffalo native, Jimmy Cerrito is clear on what makes an authentic buffalo wing.
First of all, you can't bread it. Do not bread your wings, people. You can bread them, but then they're not buffalo wings. Buffalo wings are not breaded. And buffalo wings are tossed in a delicious hot sauce and served with blue cheese and celery. And that's a buffalo wing. That's it.
Cerrito also feels strongly about who are the true MVPs of this football feast.
A lot of people come in and they thank me. Thank you for these wings. Oh, these wings are great. Thank you. No, don't thank me. Thank the chickens.
Virginians can show their appreciation to the chickens and the farmers who raise them by enjoying some delicious wings at kickoff, halftime, and the rest of the year. For Real Virginia, I'm Elijah Griles.
We're so glad you could join us to celebrate all the bounty Virginia has to offer. From the kitchen to your home and garden to our beautiful wide open spaces, we're proud to say that this is Real Virginia. For everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a great week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Put the keys down, Kevin.
But I'm gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
My text to emoji ratio has gotten a little out of hand.
A little?
Yep, I'm definitely gonna call a ride home.